Welcome to Stephen AI TV, America at War, Iran under attack. This is your AI Weekly Digest, where we take raw intelligence and turn it into the critical foresight you need. Let's get right into it. So that swift surgical strike we were all told about, yeah, that's completely off the table. 2 weeks into what they're calling Operation Epic Fury, the entire world is kind of locked in this state of what analysts are calling shocking and numbing paralysis. Turns out there was no day-after plan. And now, intelligence assessments are describing this as a systemic conflagration, basically a fire spreading uncontrollably through the system with no visible off-ramp. No way out. For our lead story, we're going deep inside the war room. Because you know the chaos we're all seeing on our screens? It didn't just happen. It was authorized. A strategic decision was made, right in Washington, to unleash a new and frankly brutal doctrine of modern warfare. And that doctrine? It all starts with this one number, a staggering 90%. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has, in his own words, untied the hands of American warfighters by gutting the Pentagon's civilian protection units by that exact amount. The stated goal? To ensure maximum lethality. And this is the result. This isn't just a statistic. This number, 170, that's the number of children slaughtered in what the Pentagon is now calling a terrible mistake. A missile strike on a girls' school in Minab. 14 teachers were also killed. This is the direct, horrific outcome of that new doctrine. But here's where things get truly surreal. The disconnect is just staggering. While the world was reeling from the tragedy in Mineb, Secretary Hegseth made this celebratory declaration, "We are bringing death and destruction from the sky." The gap, between the action and the rhetoric, it couldn't be wider. And you want to talk about immediate strategic blowback? Here it is. While Washington was celebrating its own destructive power, a critical failure was unfolding on the ground. U.S. intelligence has now admitted it has completely lost track of numerous Iranian mobile missile launch sites. And now, Tehran is using them to strike back with an intensity that absolutely no one predicted. And that, right there, leads us directly to Iran's countermove. But you gotta understand, this wasn't some act of desperation. No, this was a calculated, high-stakes power play on the geopolitical chessboard. You could call it a coronation of defiance right in the face of American firepower. So, how did this gambit play out? Well, first, a political shockwave. They installed a hardliner, Mujtaba Khamenei, as the new supreme leader, which was basically a slap in the face to the White House. Second, they secured their nuclear material, moving their most valuable asset completely out of reach. And that leads to the final incredibly dangerous dare, forcing Washington into an impossible choice between a ground invasion or accepting a nuclear-armed Iran. And when we talk about stakes, they literally could not be higher. Iran has successfully moved enough highly enriched uranium for 11 nuclear bombs into these deep, hardened tunnels dug into hillsides near Isfahan. They're essentially daring U.S. Special Forces to even try a ground raid, an act that would, without a doubt, ignite a regional catastrophe. Now, make no mistake, this conflict isn't staying put. It's like a virus radiating outwards, and the global fallout is tearing apart alliances that have stood for decades, all while empowering America's biggest adversaries. On one side, you have the so-called special relationship between the US and the UK. Well, it's pretty much on life support. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing an absolute political firestorm back home for supporting what many are calling illegal attacks. And at the same time, Vladimir Putin has just been handed a massive financial lifeline. Surging oil prices are bankrolling his war, and the world's attention is completely diverted from Ukraine. Okay, and this is where we have to connect the dots. This is the whole point of this AI Weekly Digest. You have to understand, this is not your grandfather's war. Not even close. Every single move we've talked about, from losing track of those mobile launchers to trying to flag potential sleeper assets, it's all part of a massive AI-driven battle. That right there, that is the new front line. All right, so you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but what does this have to do with me? Let's make this real. This geopolitical chaos, it's a direct attack on your wallet, on your economic security. Just think about it. The world's energy funnel, it's been slammed shut. The Strait of Hormuz is now, for all intents and purposes, a graveyard for commercial shipping. The image of that Thai cargo ship, the Mayuri Nari, just burning after an Iranian strike, that has become the symbol of this new, brutal reality. And get this, Iran has basically put the entire world on notice. Forget what you thought was a high price for oil. Tehran is now forecasting and actively engineering a future of $200 a barrel oil. This isn't just some economic warning, it's a declaration of economic war, and it's signaling a deep, painful global recession. And if you want to see what that looks like on the ground, just look at places like Ireland. Home heating oil prices have nearly doubled. It's a mind-boggling hike. Families from Dublin to Belfast are now facing what's being called a winter of choice, a terrible choice between heating their homes and buying food. Okay, for our final update, things are escalating fast. The intel shows this is no longer just a conflict over there. It's breaching borders. The war is coming home. And this is probably the most chilling piece of intel we've seen in the last 72 hours. U.S. agencies have intercepted triggers, coded activation messages sent from Tehran to potential sleeper assets, covert agents all across the globe. The final stage has been initiated. Which really just leaves us with the one massive question at the heart of all of this. In a war fought by algorithm where data moves at the speed of light, who hears the final trigger being pulled? Because in this new era, high-tech vigilance is the only currency that actually matters. And that's the latest from Stephen A. IFM, America at War, Iran.
That's all, folks.